And it's their 14th Concacaf championship for Mexico, extending their already existing record. Everybody celebrating. The first team non-U.S. to win this event in its fourth outing. As you see, 14 titles, first CNL title. All right, I'll bring in our guy, Case, too. Case, we'll give you the first crack as I went to the highlights with the boys. What was your impression of Mexico getting this 2-1 win?
Well, I thought to start the match, being given a gift. I mean, I think in the semifinal, it was kind of a ricochet that kind of fell to him to open the scoring after about a minute. This time early in the match, Mosquera just reads that cross terrible and gives Raul Jimenez another fantastic opportunity. And then I thought Mexico got a little bit complacent. They were playing okay, and they thought, okay, we're going to drop back into that kind of defensive posture that they had against Canada. And Panama stepped up a little bit. And then, of course, the mistake, which led to the penalty. This time, VAR got it right for Panama, as opposed to Canada in the first match against Mexico, where the very similar play, where Canada probably should have been awarded a penalty. They weren't this time. VAR did the job. Panama got the equalizer. And then I thought the second half, Mexico was better for the majority of it. It was just, waiting for that crazy mistake that happened that gifted the late penalty. I mean, it was like, as you guys mentioned, I mean, what is he thinking? I mean, how does he gift that second goal to Mexico and let them come away with the win? We all thought it was going extra time.
Herc, in terms of the performance, does the performance matter as much as means winning the final? Does it really matter right now?
I love that question.
Okay.
I really do. There's a saying in Mexican football, las finales no se juegan, se ganan. Finals aren't meant to be played, they're meant to be won. And when it comes to playing a final in front of your home fans, because that's what it was, for a team that's going through one of its darkest periods, probably in its history, with a looming World Cup, you just needed to win. It didn't matter if it was pretty, it didn't matter if it was ugly, it didn't matter how it happened, you needed to lift a trophy. There were many out there in the fan base, in the media, who thought that if they did not win this tournament, if they didn't have a good outing against Canada, a good outing against whoever the opponent would be in that final and win it, Javier Aguirre, the head coach of this national team, he could be gone. The man who brought him in to the federation, to the coaching job, is no longer there. And all these different owners with all these different agendas now have something where they can hang on to get their player, their man into place. They needed a good showing. The fan base had lost that faith in the Mexican national team. So it doesn't matter how they did it. It doesn't matter if it was pretty. It doesn't matter if there was controversy or if there was PKs involved or whatever the case may be. This was something you needed to win if you're the Mexican national team. So it doesn't matter, because if you're looking at this, and I want to give all the credit in the world to Panama, I didn't think we'd be here today watching a final between Panama and Mexico, and where Panama wasn't just holding on. They were protagonists for stretches of this game. This game went in waves. But for Panama to be here and to not just defend, but to play and be a very competitive team despite all their absences, injuries, suspensions, and the limited pool that they have to take Mexico to the brink again. The second final they lose to Mexico in the dying minutes speaks to them and what Thomas Christensen and the Panamanian Federation have done. But tonight, it's about Mexico. It's about them needing to win and them winning for their people.
You agree?
I do. Historically speaking, when we talk about Mexico in the CONCACAF setting, the expectation is not just to win. You have to win in a certain way. You have to please your fans. You have to win by 2 or 3 goals. But I agree with Herc. Taking into account what happened in Qatar, 3 games out, Copa America, 3 and out, CONCACAF Nations League, they never won this tournament before up until now. So they needed to win. It doesn't matter how. That's why they brought Javier El Vasco Aguirre. He's a coach from the past. Mexico is not looking for the future. He was a safe bet for the federation, for the fans, because he has experience. He has coached Mexico. He has coached Mexico in 2 World Cups. By the way, he failed in his first 2 attempts. One of the worst defeats in Mexican history was in 2002. Casey Keller was in that World Cup when the U.S. beat Mexico. But taking into account everything that has transpired in the last couple of years, the federation said, you know what, let's just bring Javier Aguirre. He's a guy who knows how to handle this type of situations. And he did exactly that because Mexico didn't play great soccer in this tournament, but they were able to win.
You gotta realize what pressure these players have been on. These players make an enormous amount of money in their home country in Liga MX and in Mexico. They are under a microscope. They are constantly being, whether we agree with it or not, and some would say justly, being criticized for their failings, but they're under that microscope all the time. I think in Javier Aguirre, they found somebody to shield them from a little bit of that criticism. Say, let me handle the media, let me handle the fan base, just try to play. 2 strikers, 1 striker, no strikers. Mexico needed something to cling to, something to hang on to, some hope for the future. This future being 15 months away. So
with very few competitive matches.
With very few windows in between, so it was an imperative that they got this trophy.
Case, let me bring you in here, because this, now, as much as that is all true, if that handball doesn't happen, then maybe we're talking about a different conversation right now. They were gifted an opportunity here, although playing better throughout the course of the 90 minutes. What do you make of that situation, how it played out?
Yeah, I mean, I think in any situation, you got to put yourself in a position that you haven't made such mistakes or allowed your opponent to take a big enough lead that you can't capitalize off of it. Now, it was almost as if they were probing, they were trying, they got a little bit quicker in the second half with the movement. They opened up some opportunities. But look, we know Panama's a very good organized defensive team, and it's not like a lot of teams are going to put a number on Panama. So, there's no reason to be, let's say, overly critical of Mexico and their approach. I think it was just a case where, look, it's a difficult Panamanian team to break down, and in the end, sometimes you got to put yourself in a situation where luck can come to the rescue, or luck can just be the thing that puts you over the top. But if Mexico got hit on 2 or 3 counterattacks and were 3-1 down, then it wouldn't have mattered. The handball wouldn't have mattered. So in the end, they did just enough of what they needed to do to win. And in the end, after I think this round of news based on this match, nobody's going to care how the game was played. They're just going to care that they were Nations League champions and they've gotten back into that little bit of winning mentality in Concacaf. In the end, that's all that really matters.
Winning is a funny thing because it papers over a hell of a lot. And if you win, the fan base forgets. They forget about the past because now you're champions. Today, Mexican fans, and justly so, will be talking about how they're the best in CONCACAF because they've proven it this week. They've proven it in the semifinal against Canada. They proved it in the final against Panama. They're going to forget about the previous 3 Nations Leagues that were lost. They're going to forget about the Gold Cup that was lost as well. They're going to forget about the World Cup, as you mentioned, Copa America. They're going to forget all about all these things, and they're going to look towards the future. Winning cures all, and that's a great thing. But there were moments in this game where you were reminded of the past. There were moments in this game where you thought Mexico could buckle. Previous Mexican teams, after that penalty kick where Carrasquilla scores, after Malagón comes out and can't punch that, after that, they're saying, oh no, here we go again. And they buckle. This Mexican team under Javier Aguirre did not. This Mexican team, led by Raul Jimenez, wouldn't. And that's a big sign.
Alan, quick point. Of course, winning is everything. I agree with Casey and Herc, but playing like this, Mexico won't have a historic World Cup. That's what the fans are really expecting. Not to win the Nations League. Of course, it's a step in the right direction. Mexico is trending in the right direction. But playing like this, trust me, they're not going to go far in the next World Cup because tonight they didn't play great. I mean, Mosquera, he wasn't required to make great saves. Tonight, Mexico did not beat Panama. Panama beat themselves. It's a typical Panamanian performance in CONCACAF. They swim, they keep swimming, and right before they make it to shore, they drown. That's exactly what happened because Mosquera, come on, you cannot make that mistake. I mean, Casey played that position. And as you mentioned, Córdoba, you cannot play the ball with your hand. It's the 89th minute. Just put the pressure on Mexico. Go to extra time.
Yeah.
Don't kill yourself. That's exactly what they did tonight.
But in case, you may agree with me on this one. If you're going to take the form or the style of play in a final as a bar of how they're going to do in a tournament, majority of teams around the world, you're going to say they won't even get out of the group phase because finals are like this. Finals are tense. Finals are ugly. Finals are emotional. Finals are sometimes up here because the mistakes are what define these finals. And again, we saw that. There were all these goals. The 3 goals tonight were critical mistakes. The first goal, Mosquera. The second goal, Malagon. And then it's Johan Vazquez. The third goal is Cordova. These are mistakes, and mistakes will cost you finals. So I understand if we're going to go by what we saw in this window, the semifinal from all 4 teams, and the final, well, you could easily say there is no CONCACAF nation that's going to make it out of the group phase. You could say that, right? But in this expanded World Cup and home field advantage with the right draw, a lot of things can go in the way of Mexico. They can go in the way of Panama, the U.S., and Canada. That's just the way that international football will be. So I don't put too much stake in what I saw in terms of their style of play, because the only thing that matters in international football and tournament play is you going beyond where you're supposed to go and winning.
Case, let me ask you this then too. With the Gold Cup coming up, that is going to be disrupted because the FIFA Club World Cup has some players that aren't going to be there for multitudes of squads in that tournament. Does that carry the same weight? Is that going to be something important because there's so few competitive matches until next year's World Cup? What's the Gold Cup going to look like?
Well, the Gold Cup's important, but I think the other thing that's important is for teams to start to figure out the players that they have based on the way they or the way they want to play, as opposed to the way they have to play based on the players they have. If I look at Mexico right now, I'm not looking at dynamic wingers that are going to run past people. I'm not looking at a real, playmaking number 10 that can really pull the strings in midfield, keep possession. No, they have to be more pragmatic. They have to have a solid back 4, defensive midfielder. And then you throw in a couple big strikers where if you need to go direct, then you can cause some problems. I saw Mexico probably hit more long balls today up to the front too than I probably saw them in the 5 or 6 times I played against them. So there was a realization that winning was the first and foremost most important thing, and they weren't going to win playing in the way that a traditional Mexican national team plays because they don't have the players that a traditional Mexican national team has had over the years. And so to me, the key to good coaching is recognizing the strengths and weaknesses you have in your side and setting your team up accordingly to win matches. Look, we all want to play the, 2000s Barcelona side with the players they had and play that way. But if you don't have those players, you can't play that way. So if you're going to be dumb and play a particular way just to lose because you think your fan base is more interested in trying to play a particular way than winning matches, well, I think Aguirre, Rafa Marquez recognized that they couldn't play that way with this squad, and they needed to play a particular way to give themselves an opportunity to win.
Do you think Aguirre, when Christensen, we kind of know what Panama's going to look like, and we were maybe surprised a little bit at what Mexico looked like in their semifinal match. We kind of saw the similar thing in today's match. Who had better in-game adjustments? What coach won the chess match, if you will?
Well, ultimately, it's Javier Aguirre because he's got more pieces. He's got more pawns to play with. And that's why I think it shows how valuable Thomas Christensen is because, we're not talking, and I'm saying this with all due respect, this Panamanian side that has really impressed us, but we're not talking about Panama of Blas Perez. We're not talking about Panama of Felipe Valoy. We're not talking about the Panama of Roman Torres. We're talking about the Panama of today with all these injuries. Suspensions, some players who had less than a handful of caps for international football. Thomas Christensen is the difference maker for Panama here. He is shown to be one of the best coaches in this zone. So other coaches have more to play with, but there is no coach in CONCACAF that does more at their disposal than Thomas Christensen. But Javier Aguirre knows this. So he can go into his bench. He can pull players out. He can move to 2 strikers, have that luxury. He can regain a Cesar Montes who was suspended in the first game against Canada, insert him, which allows Edson Alvarez to go to his natural position in center of midfield. He's just got more to play with here. But one of the best coaches in this zone who does so much with so little, that's Thomas Christensen.
Did you like Aguirre's 11? Do you think it was the right? And again, we saw both Santi and Raul up top. Do you like that going forward?
The problem, Dallin, is that Raul Alonso Jimenez right now, he's 33 years old. Next World Cup, he's going to be 30 years old.
34.
So
34, yeah.
35 in the next World Cup.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he's going to be 34 in May of this year, so he'll be like 35. So I did like the starting 11, Dallin, but in the second half, Panama was barely crossing the midfield. So you needed a right back who could like go on offense. And Israel Reyes, he's a central defender playing as a right back. So he didn't make that move. He didn't make that adjustment. He was being very cautious. And I don't agree with her that Javier Aguirre won the chess match just because Mexico won the game. I mean, Cordova made that mistake late in the game. So Thomas Christensen didn't have anything to do with that. You know, at the end of the game, or at the end of the day, the games are decided by players. You know, these type of games in the finals, usually they're decided by little mistakes, by little details. And Mexico was able to execute and take advantage of those mistakes that Panama made. By the way, I do have to praise the Panamanian Federation, because usually in Central America, every time you fail, you fire the coach. That's what they do. You know, they don't sit down, they don't analyze, they don't come to conclusions, because usually people making those decisions, they don't know anything about soccer. So they just fire the coach. 2022, Panama did not make it to the World Cup, but Jaime Penedo, Hercules and Casey know him, and you as well. He played for the Panamanian national team. He played in the MLS. He said, no, you know what? We're trending in the right direction. Thomas is doing a great job. So they signed him for 4 more years. Last Gold Cup, they made it to the final. This year, they made it to the final in the Concacaf Nations League. And I think they're going to qualify for the next World Cup. That's how you have to behave if you are a serious federation.
Just real quick with Aguirre. Now, because Mexico has fired coaches pretty quickly too. Like this is not unique to just one country or one part of the world. Has he, because of this result, has he secured his position through the World Cup? If they would have lost, would that be tenuous? And now that it's not, is that kind of resolved?
I think he's secure, but in Mexico, you never know. La Bomba Rodriguez was the guy who brought Javier Aguirre. He's no longer the El Comisionado. He's no longer the president of the Mexican Federation. So they're going to bring another guy, but you never know. But I agree with Casey and her in this point that Javier Aguirre won. So he's been able to secure his spot for the next World Cup. Think about it, Dallin. They started with Diego Coca. They went with Jimmy Lozano. Javier Aguirre is the 3rd coach in this World Cup cycle. Making another change would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Case, what did you think of the lineup that Aguirre rolled out there?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of once the suspension was up to get Alvarez back into midfield. I like the 2 strikers. I like the idea that you don't have the midfield playmaker to play through. And then, and you know, I think to Jose's point, if you don't have the outside wing backs that can really get up after that playmaker is holding the ball, then sometimes it's about just getting numbers and winning second balls. And I mean, that's clearly how they got their opening goal against Canada in the semifinal, is they just put a ball in the box, got a lucky rebound, fell to somebody, fell to Raul, and he finished it and opened the scoring. And then I have no problem with teams playing a little bit different and not just being so predictable. And so I like what he did. I like that he changed the way that Mexico normally plays because of the players he has available. I like the idea of saying, you know what? These are 2 of my best players. They're playing in the Premier League and they're playing in Serie A. I can't have one of them on the bench because what I have the option to put in kind of behind them doesn't really fit the bill. Let's put them both out there. Let's make something happen. Look, I also agree that Santi Jimenez, he worked really hard. He did a lot of very good things. He helped Raul, but it was Raul's tournament to shine. You know, when you play for Fulham, sometimes things go well for you.
Okay. And now he scored all 4 goals in this tournament for El Tri, and he is the man of the match here. There's no surprise there. Is he the best? He's 3rd all time in the history of Mexican goal scorers, 13 now behind Chicharito.
Yeah, listen, producer Beto and I, I'm in the grocery store today, and this guy's arguing with me that he could potentially beat Chicharito.
What were you buying?
Groceries.
I thought we were going to get a list. There had some stuff.
Wife sent me for some groceries. This guy's arguing with me that he's got a potential shot of beating Chicharito's all-time goal-scoring mark. And I'm like, there's no chance. There's not enough windows for that to happen. He's 33, going on 34, will be 35 when the World Cup rolls around. That's not going to happen. There are 6 windows left, including the Gold Cup. I know what people are going to say, the Gold Cup competition, whatever the case may be, they've not come easy for any national team, for the Mexican national team, and they've not come easy for Raul Jimenez. Raul Jimenez is in the prime of his life right now in international football. Not club football. That was pre-David Luiz incident. Right now, this is the best moment of Raul Jimenez's international career. It's Raul Jimenez and 10 más. It's Raul Jimenez and the rest of them right now. There is no Santi Jimenez in this conversation. Santi Jimenez still with the Mexican national team. He could do it from Milan, he could do it from Feyenoord, he could do it in Europa League, he could do the Champions League. He's not proven it at the Concacaf level with the Mexican national team. Guess who has? It's Raul Jimenez right now, and this resurgence is amazing to see, but it also worries me. Because the 4 goals that you scored were Raul Jimenez individual brilliance. Raul Jimenez set pieces. Raul Jimenez taking advantage, sniffing out a problem, finding out the solution by himself. And you're banking on Raul Jimenez in 15 months to still be the same Raul Jimenez. And he's shown over the last couple years that he goes in waves. I'm hoping he stays fit because I am a Raul Jimenez fan and I love the story, the second act. But that's asking a lot. And if you're Javier Aguirre, knowing he's probably the only striker of confidence that you have in this moment, that's a scary thing.
Well, that has been the problem in Mexico. You know, they never have a reliable number 9 because in their league, they have a lot of foreigners, you know, like players from different countries occupy those positions. So they always have this problem. Right now, Raúl Alonso Jiménez, Santi Jiménez, and maybe Henry Martin. You don't have any other options. El Memote Martinez was given the chance in the last Copa America. He didn't score 1 goal. Again, the problem is Raúl Alonso Jiménez is 33. We don't know how he's going to be in 2 years from now. But as of right now, of course, he has proven himself. And we have to be happy for the guy because he almost lost his life. We did not know if he was going to make it. Then he made it. We didn't know if he was going to be able to play soccer again. He came back, and now he's playing great soccer. And in this tournament, clearly, he was the man of the match. He was the man of the tournament. But Herc was making the point that I was trying to make earlier. Playing like this, Mexico won't have a chance in the next World Cup because, like you mentioned, the 4 goals weren't exactly because Mexico.
I let those things go because they're finals. You gotta have to find a way. But I agree with what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. To the extent that I don't think any CONCACAF nation in this Final Four leaves you with any sort of confidence that they'll make a run. It really doesn't. I know that each team could present its own problems. Panama had injuries, the U.S. had injuries, Canada could say, hey, we were hard done by some calls here or there. But what in their play has inspired you to say, hey, I could see this run happening? No. The only thing, and it's Mexico having that muscle memory kick in. And Mexico, the best thing they have is that fan base. That fan base has proven they will show out any day of the week, any time of the week, and come the World Cup, they will be the home team in the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah, they packed that stadium. SoFi was rocking. It was not around 4 o'clock local time when the U.S. was playing. And you guys are worried about Raul Jimenez as one striker. We'll get to a team in a few minutes here that has no striker. The U.S. team hasn't had one maybe since Josie Altidore. And then before you. It's been a while.
Ryan McBride.
Ryan McBride. We're going back 25 years.
There you go.
All right, ESPN FC, you get it daily every day on ESPN Plus, breaking down the world's game.